Join us in Japan. This intoxicating island nation is blooming with beauty. Feel the energy and the aesthetics. Come with us to discover an eternal culture and modern marvels, an artistic aura and exquisite landscape, a serene peacefulness and bustling vibrancy. Taste, sights, and sounds evoke a distant past and an effervescent future blended into one exotic culture. An appreciation of nature and beauty is central to the country's traditions, manners, and way of life. We'll experience it all, not only the famous bullet train, the Great Buddha, the Sapporo Snow Festival, the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and the many shrines, gardens, and temples, but also the surprises that wait around every corner. Did you know Japan is home to a thriving gin and sake scene and more Michelin-starred restaurants than you can count? In Kyoto, the well-preserved imperial capital, you can pass young geishas in the street on the way to visit the famous Ranji Temple. And here is the magnificent Golden Pavilion and the majestic Nijo Castle. Aside from the sights, this leafy city has been rejuvenated with artists, photographers, specialty craft shops, chic concept stores, and pop-up boutiques. Tokyo pulses with neon glitz, its dynamism throbbing through the throngs all the way to the iconic snow-clad Mount Fuji that slices the sky in white brilliance. Peace and tranquility are found at the city's renowned Shinto shrine, and this peacefulness will stay with you long after you return home from Japan. Our custom trips are drawn from a menu of enticing experiences with something interesting for everyone. This is Michael Gelber, CEO iWorld of Travel, inviting you to experience another Memories Beyond destination. iWorld of Travel. Expect more, do more. Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening. Thank you for joining our leadership webinar series featuring Japan today. I got to tell you that video, it was a good one. We put a nice one together. It gave me some chills, and I can't wait to go out there and visit that destination. Today, we're very lucky to have some great guests with the Japan National Tourism Board to join us. You can anticipate about a 60 to 75 minute presentation as you have experience with all of our leadership webinars. And so now let me just share with you the fantastic group of individuals that will be joining us. Most of you and all of you probably know Zahava Baton, our Vice President of Global Sales, who's been in the business for 30 years and been with our company for a very long time. And then we have Alida Paljevec, who comes with us as product development, European specialist, and helped work with the LSGD product. We have Sabone, and I told her I'm probably going to mess up the name, Emeth, who is a marketing coordinator with JNTO, and then you'll hear from Anthony Blair, Guardia and Brian Takano. Before we get into anything, let me just share with you a message that we have from the Executive Director of JNTO.
Thank you to iWorld of Travel for setting up this webinar and to everyone joining us here today. Again, my name is Keita Kadowaki, and I'm from the Japan National Tourism Organization Los Angeles office. Unfortunately, while Japan's door may still be closed due to the coronavirus situation, we think that connecting with our business partner is more important than ever. While Japan may be as small as California in terms of size, there are major cities such as Tokyo and Kyoto, as well as many smaller prefectures that have their own individual charms and beauties. One such prefecture is Nagano Prefecture, who will be presenting with us today. We hope that you will be able to learn about these lesser-known areas and what makes them so special.
Sabone, thank you, and take it away.
All right, thank you so much. I'll second my executive director in thanking you all for joining us today and thanking iWorld of Travel for letting us give this presentation about Japan and sharing information with you. Again, my name is Siobhan Ameth, and I'm the marketing coordinator for JNTO's Los Angeles office. Next, please. So before I go into the destination information, I wanted to give you some current updates regarding the COVID-19 situation in Japan. Right now, border enforcement measures are still in place until further notice. And what this includes is an entry ban for foreign nationals arriving from 150 plus different countries. And unfortunately, this does include the US. If for some reason a traveler is allowed special entry into Japan, they do have to undergo PCR testing as well as a 2-week mandatory self-quarantine. However, these rules seem to be updated month to month, so it's definitely worth checking. But do keep in mind that transit through airports in Japan is still allowed as long as several conditions are followed. For general updates, we recommend you visit the JNTO COVID-19 advisory page at japan.travel/en/coronavirus. And if you have specific questions, please contact your local Consulate General of Japan, as they are more of an authority regarding these measures. Next, please. And here are some example guidelines and practices against COVID-19 that have been proposed and/or already adopted in Japan. As you can see, it's kind of separated across all industries and different sectors, but across the board, everybody is really trying their best to limit the spread of COVID-19 and being able to safely go about life and travel across Japan. Next, please. Now, we're very honored to have been named Travel and Leisure's Destination of the Year in 2018. And we are always hoping that once this situation calms down, we'll be able to again welcome past travelers and new travelers to visit and explore and discover the country for themselves. Next, please. Now, getting to Japan is very easy. There's direct flights from 19 major airports across the US, including Hawaii. And if you could go to the next slide, please. You actually have quite a few options within Japan as well, as it is an international gateway. Now, the top 3 most recognizable and common airports are going to be Narita International Airport, which I'm sure is most likely the most recognized. This does get you pretty close to Tokyo. You also can choose to fly into Haneda International Airport, which will get you even closer to central Tokyo. And if you want to start your travels closer to Kyoto or Osaka, you could choose to fly into Kansai International Airport. Next, please. And once you're in country, getting around is very easy. You could always choose to rent a car, hire a private driver, but you could do as many locals do and take the local transit. Now, for the within city transit, you have trains and buses, and an easy way to utilize this system is to purchase an IC card. Now, these are the cards you see kind of pictured on the left, including the Suica, Passmo. They do change city by city, but they're prepaid tap cards essentially. So if you're familiar with LA's tap card or London's Oyster card, that's kind of how it works. Just be sure you have some cash on it, just tap in and out at the turnstile, and you don't have to worry about calculating fares, especially when there's connections involved. And an added benefit for this is you could actually use them at participating vending machines and convenience stores. So you don't have to bother calculating the change if you just want a quick snack. And as international passport holders, you could actually get the welcome Suica card, which will waive that 500 yen deposit. And another great benefit of being an international passport holder is being able to buy the JR Pass. Now, this comes in 7, 14, and 21 durations, and you could use this to ride most JR modes of transit, and that does include the bullet train. And as pictured here, the bullet train system does span the majority of the country, making it very convenient. And as the slide mentions, it experiences delays of only 54 seconds on average annually, so it's very punctual. What this means is if you're late to your platform by a minute, though, you might have missed your train, but don't worry, because you could just hop right on the next one, as they do come very frequently. And you could also travel in style on the train. Of course, the ordinary car is very comfortable in its own right, but you could choose to upgrade to green car, which is the top picture here, and that's kind of a business class. Or you could even choose to travel in luxury in grand class. Now, this is only offered on 2 bullet train lines at this moment, the Tohoku line, which goes up north, and the Hokuriku, which will take you more towards the Kanazawa Ishikawa region. to the west, but this is basically first class. It gives you butler service, complimentary food and wine, and the menu is changed seasonally. So it's really a way to go in style. Next, please. And once you're in country, a lot of people do depend on their phones nowadays. I really utilize Google Maps wherever I am. And some people do choose to purchase a travel sim. Just be sure to ensure that your phone is unlocked prior to leaving the US. And consider whether or not you need to make phone calls, because otherwise we do recommend renting a pocket Wi-Fi. These are rentable from most of the major airports, definitely the ones that I mentioned. They are rentable, different prices depending on how much data and speed you want to purchase, and they could support up to 10 devices. So especially if you're traveling in a group or you just have a lot of gadgets yourself, this is a very convenient way to be able to utilize those Wi-Fi maps, Wi-Fi texting, phone call apps. Next, please. In Japan is also extremely safe. It's within the top 10 safest countries in the world, if not even higher in the top 3. Pictured here, you see the koba, and this is equivalent to a police station / police box, but because there is such a low crime rate, they oftentimes end up acting more as an information booth or a lost and found. So if you found that you've lost something, including yourself, and you have no idea where you are, just find one of these koban and they'll be happy to give you very thorough directions on how to get to your destination. But you don't really need to even go to one of these. Personally, I oftentimes find myself asking convenience store clerks or just random people on the street, and they're usually more than friendly and very happy to try their best to help you find your way. Next, please. Now, there's many accommodation types in Japan. Of course, you have the traditional Western hotels, and you could even stay at a traditional Japanese style inn known as a ryokan, and this is a great way to really experience Japanese culture. But you could also stay at hybrid locations where you get that traditional inn style, but without having to sleep on the floor. You could also choose to stay at a Japanese B&B, which is known as a minshuku. Or you could do something a little bit unique and do a shukubo, which is a temple lodging. And you basically just spend the night at one of these temples. You get to eat all vegetarian food prepared by the monks. And you could even partake in some spiritual exercises, including meditation and sutra copying. Next, please. Now, here is a list of some recently open and upcoming hotels. Of course, there's more opening next year, so this list is ever changing, but definitely keep your eye out on the news because there are so many great hotels being opened in the upcoming months. Next, please. Now, the yen is the currency in Japan, and there's a few ways you could get your hand on some in general. Before travel, you could contact your local US bank and have them exchange some cash for you. Of course, just be sure to give them about 24 to 48 hours in advance in case they don't have that much yen on hand. And once you're in Japan, you could always go to that exchange service desk at the airport. Or if you find yourself within the country short on change, go to a Japan ATM. You're in the 7-Eleven convenience stores and the post offices, and between those two, you're bound to be able to find one very nearby. And just remember that Japan is a cash-based society. So while some department stores, major cities will accept credit cards, some mom and pop shops in more rural areas do generally prefer to have cash. So about $300 worth of yen is what we recommend. And shopping wise, there's so many ways to get some great souvenirs. You can visit some 100 yen shops, which are a great way to get mass bulk souvenirs for your friends and family back home. They're still very high quality and they make great gifts. Or you could go to temple flea markets or handmade craft shops for some unique goods. Or you could choose to go to department stores. And a lot of these stores are participants of the Japan tax-free shop program, meaning if you make over a 5,000 yen purchase, have your passport ready and the receipt, find a clerk and they'll fill out the forms, making your purchase tax-free as long as some conditions are followed. And in general, just remember that Japan is a tipping-free country. So while you are welcome to tip your private driver, private tour guide, it's definitely not expected. And if you do leave tips at restaurants or hotels, you may get to experience the unique being chased down by the clerk giving you your forgotten change. So definitely remember that. Next slide, please. Now, Japanese cuisine is fantastic. It has been registered as an intangible cultural heritage. Personally speaking, wherever I go, regardless of Japan, Europe, wherever, it's my goal to eat at least one traditional dish in whatever country. But in Japan, it's so easy to try everything. Of course, a lot of people are familiar with sushi and ramen, but that's not all there is. There's just so many great options, including kushikatsu, which you see pictured on the right there. It's some skewered deep fried foods, lots of great street foods. So it's definitely worth trying. And as mentioned earlier, you may be surprised to learn that Tokyo actually has the most number of Michelin star restaurants in the world, and this beats out even Paris. So there's definitely lots of options for high dining in Japan, especially Tokyo, but you don't really have to go to one to really enjoy food. Some of the best meals are mom and pop shops, hidden stores that you would have never thought to go into. So definitely explore and discover those secrets for yourself. Next slide, please. Now, of course, Japan is cherry blossoms in a lot of people's minds. And people do tend to think that cherry blossoms are only March, April. However, they bloom as early as late January in the southernmost islands of Okinawa and bloom south to north. So they bloom as late as early May in Hokkaido. So this gives you a unique opportunity in Hokkaido to really enjoy the tail end of ski season while catching the early blooms of cherry blossoms. Next slide, please. But apart from cherry blossoms in the spring, Japan does have 4 distinct seasons, so it gives you some fantastic things to do throughout the year, and there's no best season. Like I mentioned, cherry blossoms in the spring, but summer has these regional and local festivals, usually ending with these fantastic fireworks shows, and they usually have a lot of street stall foods, stall games. You get to dress up in those summer yukatas, which are just a great way to really enjoy Japanese culture while getting some photos in. And if you're a food fanatic like I am, autumn is known as the season of food. So this is the best time to go for those foodies. There's a lot of ingredients that are peak deliciousness in fall. So this is a lot of great food. I can't repeat myself enough, but you get to really pair that with the changing of the fall leaves, which is gorgeous as well. And if you're a fan of skiing, snowboarding, you got some prime powder snow within Japan, particularly in Hokkaido and Nagano, both of which have hosted the Winter Olympics in the past. And even if you're not a snow lover, in the cold, it's a perfect excuse to just continually enjoy those natural hot springs or onsen that you find across Japan. Next slide, please. Now, for first-time visitors to Japan, we do often recommend the Golden Route, as it's a great snapshot of the country that can be completed in about 1 week. And next slide. Our first destination is the current capital of Tokyo. Now, this is the modern metropolis full of high-tech activity, but that isn't all there is. Next slide, please. You have gorgeous gardens in here, which helps you forget that you're in the middle of a city. And it's a great way to kind of get a reprieve while enjoying both the natural and the high-tech version of Tokyo. Next slide, please. But you could also still experience Edo, or as it used to be known when it was in the Edo period, excuse me. So this is Sensoji Temple. This is the oldest temple in Tokyo, and it's in Asakusa neighborhood, which is known for many things, but especially this temple. So it's definitely worth visiting to see how Japan, or Tokyo really, was in the past. Next slide, please. And of course, we can forget about Shibuya Scramble Crossing. This is a fantastic, iconic view of Tokyo. Of course, you can't forget about it. And this is a great location to enjoy nightlife, high fashion, so much good food. And it's just a great place to really experience Tokyo as it is. Next slide. You could also experience a lot of great architecture within Tokyo. Within the same neighborhood, you'll have both traditional and modern architecture. Here you see pictured Tokyo Station, and this has been heavily influenced by European style architecture. And you could really enjoy the architecture, but enjoy shopping in the underground passageways as well. And within a 10-minute walk, really, you have the Imperial Palace, which is a great depiction of the Edo style architecture. So again, same neighborhood, two different styles of architecture to enjoy. Next slide. Now our next stop is the nature-filled Hakone and Mount Fuji region. As you can see here, you could get some fantastic views of Mount Fuji. Next slide. And one of these views you could get to by taking the Owakudani ropeway, which is pictured here. You'll take the gondolas over some volcanic valleys and get to a vista point where you could get a unique vantage point of Mount Fuji. And here you could also try the black sulfur eggs. Eating one is supposed to add 7 years to your life. So it's a great way to kind of wish for good luck. Just be sure not to eat too many because that's supposed to actually bring you bad luck. Next slide. And as you can see, there's so much nature in this area. You could do a lot of outdoor activities, including horseback riding, kayaking, hiking. You could even ride the Hakone Tozan Railway, which is the oldest mountain railway in Japan. And depending on season, you get some fantastic views. Spring, you'll get cherry blossoms. Summer, you get hydrangeas, especially in June and July when they're lining the train tracks. And fall, you get the changing of the fall leaves. So it's definitely worth visiting any time of the year. Next slide. Now, Kyoto is the traditional and cultural heart of Japan and was the old capital. So there's so much history to be discovered here. There's over 2,000 shrines and temples. You have 17 World Heritage Sites. So there's just so much to do here. One of my personal favorites is Kiyomizu Temple. Whenever I visit Kyoto, I'm always finding a way to add this in. And part of it is it's a great vantage point, but you walk up these hilly streets, which are lined with these shops and small knickknacks, which I am definitely weak towards not buying. So next slide. And in Kyoto, you have a lot more to do apart from just shrines and temples. Of course, you have the iconic Fushimi Inari Shrine, which are lined with these gorgeous vermilion gates and where business people often go to pray for good business. And they do donate these torii gates to kind of add to that, but you could also choose to take a ride in a rickshaw. You could go to Sagano Bamboo Grove for those gorgeous pictures and kind of being surrounded by the bamboo. Or you could perchance see and meet these geisha and training geisha as they're walking from their job. Next slide. And Osaka is the food capital of Japan. It's known as Japan's kitchen. So again, foodies out there, this is the place to go. Next slide. Dotonbori, as you pictured in the previous slide, and on the bottom here is full of bright lights, but it's full of 1,000 eateries. So you could literally eat your way through this area, but you could also just take a canal ride down and really enjoy the area. Like I mentioned before, you have kushikatsu, you have takoyaki, which is one of my personal favorites. Is this dough ball filled with octopus and different toppings. Just be sure not to eat the whole thing in one bite because that is not a good idea. But really, there's just so many options here. You could also get a great panoramic view of the surrounding area by going up to the top of the Umeda Sky Building, while also enjoying the historical side of Osaka by visiting places such as Osaka Castle. Next slide. And equidistant from Kyoto and Osaka, you have Nara, which is a great destination to add for a half-day to day trip. You have so many more UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I believe there are 20 different venues, and one of them being the Todaiji Temple, which I believe is the largest wooden structure housing the largest sitting Buddha statue. Very specific, but it's definitely worth visiting. But of course, one of the main attractions here are the Nara deer. There are over 1,200 free roaming deer in this area. They're known as Shika deer. They're seen as messengers of the gods. So they're allowed to really be wherever. You can even purchase some deer crackers and feed them, and they might even bow back to you. Next slide. And a great addition, if you have about 14 days or more, is going to be Hiroshima. Again, you have so many great historical sites, including the Peace Memorial Park, Shukeien Garden, and they're usually very central to the center of the city, so very accessible. You could even use that JR pass to ride the hop-on, hop-off bus they have here, known as the Maepuru, or you could even use that JR pass to take a ferry, and you could go visit Miyajima, which is home to the famous floating torii gates. Next slide.
Well, I think that was it, right, Simone?
I believe so. That was a lot of
uh,
information, but
a
thank you
lot of
so much.
information, and listen, I could listen for a lot longer as well, as I'm sure you could talk a lot more on this, but very interesting, great job. Appreciate the information. Really gave us a sense of why each spot it has value to going to. It's such a wide variety of options to visit in Japan. So thank you very much. And next up is going to be Brian Takano. He is going to be sharing with you a little bit of information about Gifu, and enjoy. Brian?
Hello, everyone, and good morning. My name is Brian Takano, and I'm part of the Inbound Tourism Promotions team at Gifu Prefecture Government. I'm originally from Oregon, and it's my 5th year promoting tourism here in Gifu, so I actually know more about the area than most local Japanese people. Today, I have the opportunity to briefly introduce Gifu Prefecture and what makes it a must-see destination in a visit to Japan. So first, I'll begin with Gifu's location. To be honest with everyone, when I first came here, I didn't know where it was either, but it's very easy to remember. Gifu is in the very center of Japan's main island of Honshu, in between Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto. It's 20 minutes north of Nagoya, Japan's 3rd largest city. So because of its central location, it's very convenient to travel to. Using the Shinkansen bullet train, it's about 2 hours from Tokyo and to southern Gifu, and 3.5 to 4 hours to northern Gifu. It's a little bit faster from the Kansai region, from Osaka, it's about 90 minutes, and Kyoto less than an hour. And just for your information, all of these routes are usable with the JR Rail Pass. So just remember to transfer in Nagoya. So next, so that you can get a feel for what the area is like, Gifu is home to a diverse range of landscapes, with 80% of it covered in forests. There are the Japan Northern Alps in the north, flat plains and grasslands in the south, and crystal clear rivers flowing all throughout the area. 5 of Japan's 10 tallest mountains are concentrated in northern Gifu, with each of them towering over 10,100 feet. So because of its central location and abundant natural resources, Gifu is also steeped in rich history and tradition, as it was strategically important to past samurai warlords and governments, and saw a large flow of people and goods pass through the area when they traveled through from Kyoto to Tokyo. Due to time constraints, I only have time to talk about our major sightseeing destinations. Some of you may have heard of Takayama, or the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Shirakago. However, please be aware that these places are only the tip of the iceberg, as Gifu is a treasure trove of undiscovered places and things that are awaiting your discovery. So now that you have a general idea of Gifu, I want to go into further depth about some of the sightseeing attractions here. Without a doubt, the most popular and well-known destination of Gifu is Shirakago Village. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is special because it's one of the last places in Japan where people still live in these traditional thatched roof houses that are upwards of 300 years old. So 95% of these sorts of places in Japan are more like open air museums where you pay admission to go into. But there's no fee here because it's an authentic village where real people continue to go about their daily lives. Personally, I think that the true appeal of the village is being able to see what life was like in rural Japan hundreds of years ago. And I've actually stayed the night here twice and would say that being able to take a stroll before sunset or in the morning without the presence of tourists or other visitors makes this experience so much more authentic. So one night with breakfast and dinner included will normally cost you around 100 USD, so it's very affordable. For those that are interested in reservations, you can contact the email provided at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So next, I want to talk about Takayama, which is in some ways just as famous as nearby Shirakago. Takayama today retains much of the atmosphere and flavors of the past, leading to one of its nicknames, Little Kyoto. In the 1600s, when Japan entered the Edo period, Takayama and the surrounding Hida area was so highly valued for its natural resources that it was one of the few regions put under the direct control of the central samurai government. A walk through downtown Takayama will bring you through the narrow streets and elegant architecture that remain reminiscent of the town's historical prosperity. The area is full of things to see and do, like morning markets, where you can buy local produce and handicraft and interact with locals. Sake breweries, where you can tour the breweries and do sake tasting. National historical museums and buildings that show you into Japan's past. And a wide variety of ancient shrines and temples that provide the perfect area to explore on your own for a few hours. So Hira beef is our region's signature Japanese beef. And speaking from personal experience, I think it's on the same level of Kobe beef, if not better. Its succulent, marbled meat feels like it's melting in your mouth. And it's also been chosen as Japan's best beef multiple times in the past. So there are also dining options available for everyone, with everything from street food and convenience stores to Takayama ramen joints, Hira beef steakhouses, and a Michelin 2-star Japanese restaurant. The local tofu here is also delicious for those vegetarians out there. So the real reason that I enjoy Takayama so much is because it has all this history, and then on top of it, it's completely surrounded by the majestic outdoors. Takayama is actually Japan's largest city area-wise, and outside the city center, lush nature dominates the landscapes. So just an hour from downtown Takayama into the mountains will bring you to the Okuhira area, essentially meaning the deep Hira, where you have an entirely different world of mountains, forests, and hot springs. So this is the perfect place for some R&R. And there are activities available to do here, like Japan's only 2-story aerial tramway, hiking, and snowshoeing. So besides the Okuhira, I also recommend Hida City, which is only 20 minutes from downtown Takayama. The city has its own share of historical districts and sake breweries. But there's also a relaxing bike tour that allows one to experience the rural Satoyama of Japan. The term Satoyama essentially means living in an area that's not too populated, near the undeveloped woodland and mountains. It goes even farther as a local philosophy of the sustainable lifestyle between humans and their natural surroundings. So cycling tour participants will experience rural Japan and see how locals coexist with their natural environment. So 30 minutes south of Takayama by train, the city limits of Gero, is an area called Hida Osaka. While Gero is famous for being one of Japan's 3 most famous hot spring districts, Hida Osaka is considered a town in Japan with the most waterfalls. With 216 waterfalls over 15 feet, this is a place for any waterfall lover out there. The waterfalls and terrain of the area consist of lava rock that was formed 54,000 years ago by an eruption from nearby Mount Ontake. So you will also find Japan's longest lava flow here. There are things to do here year-round, as other activities include frozen waterfall trekking and canyoning. So Takayama has a wide selection of hotels, hostels, guest houses, and traditional Japanese inns, making it a great place to set up camp for a few days while checking out the surrounding sites. So also, each place also has their own accommodation that's totally worth checking out. So this only scratches the surface of things to do in northern Gifu, but I'm very short on time. So next I want to talk about a popular destination in southern Gifu. It's called the Nakasendo Highway. Now it's more of a historical highway. So it's essentially a historical highway that was one of the major highway systems connecting Kyoto and Tokyo during the 17th, 19th century. Back during the highway's heyday, it was bustling with travelers, merchants going back and forth from the current and previous capitals. The Nakasendo Historical Highway, whose name means Central Mountain Path, cuts through southern Gifu, which promoted great economic development in the area. Along the route, there are 69 post towns, which acted as in towns where people would stop along the way during their travel. Magome-juku is one of the more popular post towns in Gifu, and it's very unique amongst all Nakasendo post towns in that it's built along a sloping hillside while most other post towns are flat. This allows for a very picturesque atmosphere as the close-knit townhouses and other structures cascade upwards or downwards depending on the direction you're walking. There are an ample amount of cafes, shops, and guest houses here, and when you're walking downhill, you're actually rewarded with a beautiful view of the nearby Ena Gorge Mount Ena. So one of the regional traditions that was started because of Nakasendo is local kabuki. We have the most preservation societies in all of Japan and offer various makeup experiences as well as theatrical performances. We had a TV host from Jewish Life TV in LA visit earlier this year before COVID hit, and as you can see from the pictures, he had a blast. So next, I want to talk about a few of the traditional crafting industries in Gifu. As I mentioned before, Gifu is blessed with an abundant nature, which in turn led to the flourishing of many traditional crafting industries in the area. What sets Gifu apart from other places in Japan, aside from the sheer number of different industries collected in one area, is that these industries are still alive and thriving to this very day. So not only can you watch authentic artisans go about their craft, but try your hand at it and be guided by them as well. Minawashi paper, for example, has a history of over 1,300 years and continues to be one of Japan's most famous styles of paper. In addition to a UNESCO designation, earlier this year, the handmade version of the paper was chosen as official award certificate paper to be used in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So about 17,000 pieces of certificate paper were created, and I have my fingers crossed that they'll be used next year in 2021. So for those interested in cooking or katana, have you heard of seki knives? They are famous amongst chefs worldwide, but were created here in the city of Seki. Currently, the town has the largest market share in Japan for household kitchen knives and bladed tools for hairstylists and beauticians. However, this industry has roots that lead back over 800 years to the day of the samurai. Katana from Seki were famous among warlords for being unbreakable, unbendable, and incredibly sharp. And even today, there are 10 practicing nationally certified swordsmen. So speaking from personal experience, there's nothing more awe-inspiring than watching a 25th generation swordsmith pound out actual clients before your very own eyes, and then being able to try out the hammer for yourself a few swings. This particular experience ends with you seeing some bamboo cutting in the final product and actual katana. And in another workshop, you can spend an entire day smithing your very own samurai knife with a certified swordsmith. These sorts of first-hand experiences are available to book online, and we even have a slight discount for agents. So next, I want to talk about Chiune Sugihara and the memorial hall dedicated to him in Yaotsu Gifu. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Chiune Sugihara, he was a Japanese diplomat stationed in Kaunas, Lithuania during World War II, who went against the orders of his own government and issued transit visas to Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi persecution. Thanks to his historic deeds, an estimated 6,000 lives were speculated to have been saved. And we are proud to say that he was born in Gifu Prefecture. In the town of Yaotsu, there's a memorial hall dedicated to his memory and heroic deeds. And in the memorial hall, you can learn about Chiune Sugihara's life and the background of World War II leading up to his action. So the memorial hall sits atop the Hill of Humanity, a memorial park created in honor of the memory of Chiune Sugihara. It's home to various memorial monuments, an exchange base, and a special area for children. Don't miss the spectacular view that overlooks Yaotsu and the nearby Maruyama Dam. So for those who like the outdoors, located 15 minutes by car from the Memorial Hall is Goho Falls, a stunning 3-tiered waterfall that stretches to a height of 260 feet. The hiking course there passes by 2 other waterfalls, making it a nice stop to enjoy the local nature. So for the daredevils out there, Yaotsu is now home to Japan's tallest bungee jumping platform. Gifu Bungee just opened up this past summer and allows one to bungee jump 705 feet from the gigantic Shinsoku Tabi Bridge. I was actually able to do it earlier this month, and boy, was that awesome experience. So Bungee Japan is the only company in the country that's allowed to run bungee jumping operations, so you know that they can be trusted with your safety. So here's a sample itinerary for someone who wants to see some of the famous sightseeing areas of Japan, while also seeing locations that have connections to Chiune Sugihara. It starts in Tokyo and ends in Osaka, or vice versa, and allows you to visit Yaotsu, the area I just mentioned with the Memorial Hall, Nagoya, where Chiune Sugihara lived for a while as a student, and Tsuruga, where Jewish refugees with Sugihara visas enter Japan from Russia. The Tsuruga Museum was just renovated and will actually reopen again this November. So there are so many other places that I could go on about other than the ones I mentioned today. But to wrap things up, Gifu is a place filled with grand outdoors, timeless tradition, and a living culture that have been carefully preserved and handed down for centuries, and in some cases, a millennium. They are live and breathing within the daily life of local Gifu residents, which is what sets Gifu apart from other places. So this side of Japan is something that can only be experienced outside the big cities, and a trip to timeless Japan will naturally be an adventure. So please see our social media and tourism website for more information and awesome pictures and videos of Gifu Prefecture. For those of you with questions, please feel free to shoot us an email and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So actually earlier this year, we just released some beautiful promotional videos with a team that were created with a team of international filmmakers. They do a very good job of displaying the beauty of Gifu, like everything that I was explaining. So there are 5 in total, but today I wanted to end by showing you one of them. So for those of you that want to know more, you can actually watch the other videos and see more. So thank you for your time.
Well, that was terrific. I don't know that I'll be doing that bungee jump anytime soon, but certainly looks exciting. And wow, what a great destination. For those of you who'd like to know more about Gifu, as you know, tomorrow we are having our Japan webinar focused on Gifu, the Jewish heritage experience. So be sure to register for the webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. Next up will be Anthony Blair Guardia, which will share with us some information about Nagano.
Thank you, Shivam. So my name is Blair. And I'd like to tell you today about Nagano Prefecture, the roof of Japan. As you can tell, I'm not from Japan originally, but I've lived in Nagano for 8 years, and I currently work for the Nagano Tourism Organization. So while Nagano is not as famous as Kyoto, Tokyo, or Osaka, you may remember Nagano as the host of the 1998 Winter Olympics, where athletes from around the world competed in events such as slalom and ski jumping, as well as curling and speed skating. And even more of you may remember Nagano for its adorable mascots, the monkeys that bathe in the hot springs of Jigokudani. So these monkeys have been featured in various magazines and nature documentaries, such as BBC's Life, and now people from all over the world come to see these adorable snow-covered monkeys bathing in hot springs. Where is Nagano? So Nagano is located centrally on Japan's main island of Honshu. So as you can see here, this is Nagano in green, and it is not far from major cities such as Tokyo or Nagoya. So most people when visiting Nagano will first go to Nagano City, which is just an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes from Tokyo by the Hokuriku Shinkansen bullet train. If you're traveling from Nagoya, it's 3 hours by express train. Another popular destination in Nagano is Matsumoto City, which is about 2.5 hours by express train from Tokyo, or 2 hours from Nagoya. You can also easily access Nagano from Nagoya and Tokyo by bus, which takes about 3 to 4 hours. Some fun facts about Nagano. Nagano is bordered by the most prefectures out of anywhere in Japan. It is also landlocked, so for a long time, it was not the best place to get sushi. And it is also the 4th largest prefecture in Japan. Compare that to the 48th largest state in the US, Connecticut. Nagano's landscape is dominated by the 3 ranges of the Japanese Alps. So Nagano has 15 out of 23 of Japan's tallest out of Japan's 3,000 meter high mountains, which is about 9,800 feet. Here you can see Mount Yarigatake, which is the 5th tallest mountain in Japan. And thanks to Nagano's mountainous landscape, many forests and beautiful natural scenes remain. Over 80% of Nagano is covered in forests, and there are 5 national parks around the prefecture. There are also hundreds of trekking and hiking trails where you can go and get in touch with nature in the mountains and forests here. And like Shivan said earlier, Nagano, like many parts of Japan, has 4 distinct seasons. If you come in April, you can see cherry blossoms all around Nagano Prefecture, from in the mountains to historical sites and castles, like here, Ueda Castle. If you come in June, July, or August, you can enjoy the vivid greenery of summer and lingering snow in the mountaintops. If you come from September to November, then you can see the vivid reds and yellows of autumn, like you can see behind me here. And from December to March, the prefecture is covered in a blanket of snow, and you can enjoy skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, and other winter activities to your heart's content. And Nagano isn't only worth a visit just for its nature. It also has a lot of historical and heritage sites where you can learn more about the people who live here and the history of Nagano Prefecture in Japan. One of my personal favorite places to visit in Nagano is the Nake Sendo. So the Nake Sendo was a road that connected Kyoto and Edo during the Edo period over 200 years ago. So this road is 534 kilometers long, which is equal to 300 something miles. And people would walk between Kyoto and Edo, which took a very long time. And in order to support these travelers, these merchants, and government officials on their journey, the government built 69 towns along the way. And these towns were filled with inns, restaurants, and even sake breweries that would support these travelers on their journey. Some of these post towns remain today, and you can see the beautiful wooden townscape that you would have seen anywhere that you went during the Edo period. In particular, Tsumago-juku, Narai-juku, pictured here, and Magome-juku are some of the most restored post towns of the Nake Sendo. As you walk along these streets, you can slowly slip back in time to the Edo period. And after a journey along the Nake Sendo, nearby you can also experience part of Japan's mountain ascetic heritage. So near the Nake Sendo is Mount Ontake, one of Japan's most spiritual mountains, alongside Mount Fuji and Mount Haku. So here, mountain ascetics would travel and they would climb to the tops of the mountain in order to seek enlightenment. But before they could do that, they would have to go through a number of purifying rituals, such as eating Buddhist vegetarian cuisine called Shojin Yori, and also meditating underneath waterfalls. If you come to visit Mount Ontake, you yourself can experience these same purifying rituals and get a better sense of Japan's spiritual past. I myself have done waterfall meditation, and I found it to be very refreshing and purifying, but also a little bit painful. Zenkoji Temple, located in Nagano City, is one of Japan's largest and oldest wooden temples. It is considered the center of Buddhist faith in Eastern Japan, and people from all around the country have traveled here for over 1,200 years. So Zenkoji Temple houses the first icon to be brought from India to Japan, and there are 39 temple lodges around Zenkoji where people can stay after their long journey. If you stay at a temple lodge in Nagano City, you can experience part of the life of a Japanese Buddhist monk. You can eat Shojin Yori, the traditional Buddhist vegetarian cuisine. You can do zazen meditation, and you can participate in the morning ceremony at Zenkoji Temple and be blessed by the head priests. A little bit farther north from Nagano City is the area of Togashi, deeply steeped in Shinto spiritual energy. So this forested area sits at the base of Mount Togashi, and there are 5 Shinto shrines here. Mountain ascetics would travel here as well for their training, away from civilization. And you too can visit Togashi and experience the natural and spiritual energy of this place. The most popular shrine to visit in Togashi is the Okusha Shrine, which is located at the base of Mount Togashi. As you walk along a 40-minute trail towards the Okusha Shrine, you'll pass this red Zuijinmon gate, and after you cross it, you'll see towering 400-year-old cedar trees on either side of you. Truly a sight to behold. A bit farther south, in Matsumoto City, is Matsumoto Castle. Unlike some other castles in Japan, which are made of cement and have elevators inside of them, Matsumoto Castle is the original structure that was built over 400 years ago during the Warring States period. So this castle stands proudly in front of the Japanese Alps, and you can enjoy it from outside, or you can enter inside and climb all the way up to the very top and see panoramic views of Matsumoto City. The castle also contains a museum with artifacts from the Warring States period, including weapons and other tools that samurai used. Around the castle, you also see aspects of the castle town, including shopping streets and traditional earthen-walled buildings, and also there are plenty of museums here as well. One in particular that everyone should visit on a trip to Matsumoto is the Matsumoto City Museum of Art. So the Matsumoto City Museum of Art, among other things, houses a permanent collection of the works of Yayoi Kusama, who is a native of Matsumoto City. Many of you may already know her as the internationally renowned avant-garde artist, famous for her polka dot sculptures and paintings. And one other thing that I highly recommend on a trip to Nagano is taking a dip in a local hot spring. So Nagano has the most day-use hot springs out of anywhere else in Japan, thanks to the many volcanoes that surround Nagano. So anywhere you go, you can find a hot spring, whether it's at a ski resort or even in town or at a resort anywhere around. After a long day of walking, whether it be in the mountains or around Matsumoto Castle, there's nothing better than taking a dip in a hot spring and letting your fatigue fade away. And if you're like me, one of your favorite things to do when you travel is to eat. So Nagano Prefecture, like other parts of Japan as well, has lots of delicious cuisine to enjoy. And also, Nagano's cuisine is very healthy as well. So the people of Nagano actually have some of the longest average lifespans out of anywhere Japan or anywhere in the world. So the average male lives to about 81.7 years of age, and the average woman lives to about 87.67 years of age. And we like to think that that's because of their active lifestyles, the excellent environment of Nagano, and the great food that they eat. As you can see here, Nagano has plenty of fresh produce. Nagano also produces some delicious wines and also some high quality meats and fish. So at the top right, you'll see Shinshu beef, which is a Nagano brand of beef produced with apple-fed cows. Shinshu salmon, which is a cross between two types of trout, which is very delicious, and Shinshu ogon shamo, a type of chicken that's bred only in Nagano Prefecture. But if you ask Japanese people what Nagano's most famous cuisine is, everyone will tell you soba. So soba is a traditional noodle that is made from buckwheat flour. So buckwheat grows abundantly in Nagano thanks to its arid highland climate. And buckwheat noodles are incredibly healthy and delicious. Depending on where you go around Nagano, you'll find many different types of buckwheat noodles that are made with water, buckwheat flour, and a binding agent to keep the noodles together. Sometimes that may be wheat flour, sometimes that might be some type of local plant fiber. You can also get juwari soba, which is a type of soba made with only water and buckwheat flour. And not only is it incredibly delicious, but it's also healthy and gluten-free. Another great Nagano snack is oyaki. Oyaki is a type of flour dumpling that's filled with a variety of vegetables. These are also traditionally not made with any meat, so as a vegetarian, you can enjoy these without worry. On the left here, we have mushrooms, pumpkin, daikon radish, nozawana pickle, and anko bean. Oyaki are so popular around Nagano that as soon as you get into Nagano Prefecture, any convenience store that you go into will also be selling oyaki. As soon as you leave Nagano, they're all gone. And you may not know, but Nagano is one of the largest producers of miso in Japan. Nagano produces 40 to 50% of Japan's miso. If you've had miso soup before, more than likely, you've had Shinshu miso, Nagano's miso. If you come to Nagano, I highly recommend enjoying miso in the form of miso ramen. And fresh fruit. So in addition to a variety of vegetables, Nagano also produces plenty of fruits. It produces the second highest volume of grapes and apples in Japan. Here are some delicious grapes that I picked myself, not too far away from where I live. These are Nagano Purple, which is a Nagano brand, as you may have guessed, and they are incredibly delicious and about as big as this. If you come during fall, you can enjoy grape picking, apple picking, or if you come earlier in the season, you can also try cherry picking, strawberry picking, peach picking, and more. Whatever fruits you find and whatever fruits you eat, they're guaranteed to be delicious in Nagano. And last but not least, sake. So when you come to Japan, you want to try everything local that you can, and sake is no exception. So Nagano Prefecture has the second highest number of sake breweries in Japan, about 80, and you can visit these sake breweries and try a variety of sake for yourself. Especially when you don't know much about sake, haven't had it before, it really helps to try a variety of sake from the same distillery to get an idea of what flavors that you can get out of the rice. When you visit these breweries, sometimes, in addition to tastings, you can also see the breweries themselves. And one thing that I would like to recommend, not only can you see the breweries, but in some breweries, you can also learn to make sake as well. At Kurabito Stay at the Kitsukura Sake Brewery in Saku, you can go on a 2-night, 3-day tour where you stay in the brewery and you become a sake brewer. You help make the sake and you learn a lot about sake and come to appreciate it much more. And that's all for me. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you learned a lot about Nagano, and maybe someday I'll see you here.
Terrific. That was great information. I appreciated the presentation. Very beautiful out of Nagano. A lot of great outdoors, and of course the food, the fruits, the vegetables, and the sake. I look forward to going there. Next up, as we're getting into an hour right now, we want to introduce Alita Poljavec and Zahava Baton. Alita will take the lead on discussing just briefly our LSGD, our luxury small group departures, as it relates to Japan. Alita, all yours.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the presenters. This was an amazing presentation. I really felt like I flew over to Japan for half an hour, and it was really an amazing experience. So, and also thank you all of you for being with us today. I will be very brief. I am here only to tell you that within our luxury small group departures product, the LSGDs, if you joined any of our webinars, you already know about this. And of course, one of our destinations is Japan, and this is actually an exclusive preview to our webinar attendees, because this program is not even published yet. We are having 4 departure dates in 2021, starting from March, and then in April, June, and then in December. We have a classic route, a classic itinerary, which is really filled with authentic experiences that will connect you deeply with Japan. We have 3 nights in Tokyo. We start in Tokyo. We have a wonderful cruise where we interact with geishas. We have sushi making experience. Of course, we visit all the main sites and attractions like the Tokyo Tower, parks, museums, temples, and so on. And of course, also in Tokyo, we will have a sake experience and tasting. And then we head on to the Mount Fuji area. We stay for a night in the lake Kawaguchigu. I hope I said that right. We also have a noodles making experience, and we visit a fascinating art museum. And then from there, we take the bullet train and we go down to Osaka. And then the tour of Osaka is also a food tour. So the walking tour will be filled with trying out the amazing cuisine down there in the kitchen of Japan. And from Osaka, we also have a day tour that takes us to Nara. You saw Nara also earlier today. It was for a time being an old capital and famous also for the deers. Lovely day tour. And then we move as a last destination. We finish the tour in Kyoto with 3 nights. And of course, Kyoto filled with wonderful sightseeing of temples. But here we also have a Zen class meditation. We have a kimono dress up. We ride a rickshaw, we have a tea ceremony. So it is filled with really authentic experiences. As we do in all of our LSGD programs, we always try to incorporate all the main sites as well as off the beaten path visits and a lot of authentic experiences, as well as free time. And as I was saying, always in all of our LSGDs, and that goes also for Japan, we have individual arrival and departure transfers that we always organize with English-speaking drivers. We have a professional tour manager that is a local. It is handpicked and trained by us to handle our groups. The groups are in a maximum of 14 passengers. I forgot to mention this. We always have a welcome meeting and a welcome dinner on the first evening. All the transfers and transportations are done with luxury modern vehicles, unless we have a train or in some destinations, even flights. We always incorporate visits to all the major sites and highlights, but also the off the beaten path places with opportunities to meet locals, interact with locals, and dive into these cultural experiences that are really available thanks to our insider access. We always incorporate free time, so also it goes for Japan. There is plenty of free time in all three of the cities to go and explore and have those, as we call them, organical experiences that you can only have if you're out there on your own. And we always end our luxury small group programs with a farewell dinner. That is also always something special, happens on the last evening right before the day of departure. And that is about all that I was going to say. So I would like to invite you to drop any, if you have any questions in the Q&A sections. I do see some questions there. So Michael, do you want to dive into the questions right now?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that. Let me just add one thing about the LSGD product. One of the beauties about it is that it really becomes a platform for a destination where, remember, we're an FIT company and we're customized to whatever each individual's needs are. So while we have the LSGD product that's a specific itinerary, for very luxury, it's a hybrid of, being able to have a little bit of a structure with free time. We also have pre and post that we like to encourage coming in ahead of time, maybe 3 or 4 nights to visit some destinations, some regions within Japan, or stay 3 or 4 nights after to continue to explore as well. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at the LSGD products. It's really a base of that destination, and then we can build a la carte around it to really have it customized in addition to the specific itinerary.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for that, Michael. That's really was important to say. All of the wonderful regions that you learned about today as Sifu, and we can organize as a pre or a post where clients can really spend some more time and learn more about Japan. So now let's go to the questions. First question is maybe Japan Pass is reserved how long before? I'm not sure if maybe Shavan or who can take a response to this question.
Yeah, I'll take that question. So you could purchase, when you purchase the pass, you're actually purchasing an exchange voucher, and you need to exchange that voucher within 3 months for the pass in Japan. So I guess technically it is 3 months. Just keep in mind right now, a lot of places aren't selling them just because tourists aren't going to Japan right now. But as soon as it is, just keep in mind, you could purchase it 3 months in advance. Just make sure you're exchanging within those 3 months.
Yes, thank you so much. Next question is, when should you book to get past the typhoon season and see the autumn leaves?
So that's going to unfortunately vary year by year. In general, typhoon season is kind of September, early October. So as soon as you pass that is good for avoiding typhoon season. And then the fall leaves do start changing, especially in their gorgeous colors, kind of November, December. So kind of towards the end of the year would be great, but it does vary depending on the part of the country. Like just like cherry blossoms bloom south to north, the leaves do change north to south. So you do have a little bit of a window.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. And now one question that I will direct to you, Michael. Will we be able to view this webinar again?
Yes, with having it edited from the beginning. So what happens after the webinar, anybody who's registered will get a copy of it. But more importantly, over the next 5 days, 7 days, we go ahead and edit it. We take out some of the stuff in the beginning, wherever there are some mistakes and where we talk about our company. We go right into the presentation from the video. We post it on our YouTube page as well as our website, and you have the ability to share that with either your team or any of your clients that you wish to have get updated. So I would, again, you'll get a copy afterwards, but you can access an edited copy within a week, either on our YouTube page or our website at iworldoftravel.com/videos.
Thank you, Michael. There is another one, either you or maybe Zahava wants to jump in. This is a question. I am interested in going to Japan with my wife. Do you do group tours covering all of Japan for longer than 8 days?
So, I mean, I can answer that, and Zahava can as well, because Zahava is taking tours back there. Again, the LSGD product is just one product in our portfolio. We're really an FIT company. So whether you're a group of 2 or you want to do a customized group, and I'll let Zahava talk about that. Zahava is a real champion in terms of working with the travel advisors, customizing particular itineraries, looking at what destinations you're looking at visiting, the length of time, and how many are in your group, and kind of taking the lead on that. Zahava, if you want to.
Yeah, Michael, first of all, I wanted to let the our travel partners know that in our company, we have a specialist for Asia. You know, I mean, I'm sure that many of you who have joined us to so many webinars, to so many destinations, fundamentally, it's very important to remember that each of the region that we sell, we have a specialist to the destination or to the area. In our case today, we have a specialist to Asia who will take all your requests for FIT. When I say specialist, I mean to say that she's not only expert, she has the expertise to sell Asia. She was a guide for many years in China. She have led many tours to different parts of Asia. She has worked with tour operators. So she's a great person, just to let you know. And yes, of course, we have the luxury tours, and we can design any type of tour that you would like. It can be an FIT for 1 or 2 persons. We will be able to include any kind of special item or special interest of your client, and that's the idea of FIT. With the FIT, we do also groups, closed groups, can be school groups, student groups, can be teachers, nature lovers, and so on and so forth. And the idea behind it, that you would come and you would tell us, you know, I have a such and such group, bird lovers, nature lovers, and we will design the itinerary to the interest of your group. Absolutely. So we do groups and we do FIT, and we can implement it to any booking you may have for us.
If I can, that's terrific stuff. If I can just add one thing. Keep in mind, we always talk about our company, we're a tour operator, but really we view ourselves as a marketing company that happens to be in the tourism industry. And so if you have a group or you have some clients that you would like to have a presentation done for or to, we'll do it with you and for you. We just did it last week, as I mentioned. I think it was there were 100 people for a travel advisor out of Florida who had the congregation from 5 different temples that joined to learn about a program we're doing in Prague, Budapest, and Vienna. But the same thing stands for any destination. Remember, we're a global company. So if you have clients that are interested in Japan, they'd like to put together either a family group, multi-generational, skip generation, or just a specific group that have common interest, we'll join you, we'll create the collateral for you, we'll create the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll host the Zoom meeting on your behalf with you as the lead to provide you as the expert in choosing the partners that can make the most of a destination for your clients.
Thank you so much, Michael and Zahava. This was amazing. We have one last question that I will direct to you, Shavan. Can't wait to see Japan. Any word when it will reopen to tourists again?
So I want to give you a date. Unfortunately, I can't.
Of course.
The best place to visit is the JNTO COVID-19 advisory. It is japan.travel/en/coronavirus. At this point, the border enforcement measures are in place until further notice. However, they are gradually opening up to different levels of visitors. So I believe they're starting to reopen for business travel or long-term stays in the upcoming months. So we're hoping sooner than later, but definitely keep an eye out on the advisory as it is updated near daily by headquarters and links out to all the appropriate entities. So it should be the most accurate kind of condensed information you can find on reentry.
Thank you so much. And with that, I will only share with you a couple of comments that we have received. Terrific presentation. Thank you. Amazing webinar. Thank you all. Can't wait to visit Japan. Oh my goodness. I was there 5 years ago. Best trip ever. So thank you all so much. I will conclude this. Back to you, Michael.
Okay, well, listen, thank you. That was really, really informative. I loved all the information. It's always nice when you can have a webinar that's the length that we were about a destination, where you felt like you were consistently interested in what was being said and what was being shown. So I appreciate having the support of JNTO, a really strong partner, a really sophisticated and engaging group that's willing to do whatever it takes to support tour operators like ourselves and partners in getting tourism promoted to Japan. As we know, we do have the Olympics that are scheduled next year. I know in talking to our partners with JNTO, we're looking at travel. I know Siobhan can't talk about opening dates, but I think the word is that things are getting a little bit better. There's a little bit more movement, and by the first of the year, we should see some more traction. And ideally, what I'm looking to do, because I turn 60 next month, is I already talked to our partner about going out to Japan pre-Olympics and start to experience and enjoy just the beauty of that country. So I just want to thank everybody again for participating. I want to thank Zahava and Alita for your support with the webinar, and of course, the information and support from Siobhan, Anthony, and Brian. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can reach out to anybody at info@iworldoftravel.com, or it's the first initial last name for any of our specialists, any of our team. Alita Poljavec would be A. Poljavec at iWorldOfTravel, and Zahava Baton would be Z Baton at iWorldOfTravel.com. And there you go. Enjoy your afternoon. Stay safe. Stay strong. Again, I always say this, one of my father's best lines, and I guess it was an historical line for many, is that I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think it's a train. So we are getting closer to the point of the day after, and we look forward to traveling again ourselves and supporting travel for you and for your clients. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, evening, the rest of your afternoon. Take care.